ladies and gentlemen, Rick Burns. I'd love for you to tell us a bit about how you got involved with the film, this topic.
A good friend of mine, Frank Pellegrino, who owns the restaurant, it's the hardest restaurant to get into in New York, Rayo's, called me up 15 years ago and said that he and his friend David Pecker and another friend of ours, Howard Kaminsky, who used to be the publisher of Random House, had for years and years and years been saying there are these two guys, the two popes, Generoso Pope Sr. and Generoso Pope Jr., whose stories are just so kind of hauntingly American and very different, the father's story and the son's story, and sort of genetically related, of course, but there's just something they've been talking. They talked to Martin Scorsese about doing it, and Nick Pileggi, and somebody got the idea that it really should be not a feature film, but a documentary film. And they talked to me about it, and I was really glad they did. And that's where we began what was a really, really long journey to figure out how to translate the story of these two people who, what they did was known, especially Gene Jr., but who they were was completely unknown. And I was really attracted to it a really, really deep way, as I think, David, you were too.
In April of 1999, when we acquired American Media, and I first walked into Lantana and went through those acreage there, and walked into Gene's office, and walked into the newsroom, and I sat in his chair and looked out, and you actually felt, believe it or not, I did, his presence in that room. And this was in 1999. You heard it from the movie. He passed away in 1988, and everybody still referred to him as GP, just as you saw the notes. And it was as if he still was alive today, as he still walked the halls. The thing about the Christmas trees, the Hell's Angels, all of those things.
The grass.
And the grass, everything. And from that moment on, I said, this story has to be told. And when I spoke to Frank Pellegrino, I invited him down to Florida. He looked around. He looked at some of the photos and everything that we had, and he said, you know, he said this should be, and just exactly as Rick said. First, we thought it was going to be a feature film, so we spoke to Nick Pileggi, and then as we went through this, and I finally spoke to Rick, who is probably the greatest documentarian that is alive today. For someone to take exactly this story, compare it to his father, and actually memorialize this is an amazing feat. And thank you so much, Rick, for what you did. It's amazing. It really is.
Thank you, David, for thinking of it and having the heart to sort of back it all the way through. I mean, I just found it super riveting and super challenging to work on. Because, you know, most of the stuff that I've had the opportunity to work on, aside from this, is stuff where, you know, it's kind of some story, the quote importance of which sort of is given. And then you get people on camera to tell you why it's important and how it's important and what you should think and feel about it. And this is a story that won't allow you to do that. I mean, this is a story that's so American. I can remember, you know, I grew up first in Delaware until my family moved to Michigan, and when we would go to the beach at Rehoboth, and as a 6-year-old, I remember going to this candy store near the boardwalk, and I'd go in to get bubble gum. But I was drawn helplessly to peek, because it was always turned away from the news counter at the National Enquirer at really the height of the Gore period. And I would see these, it was like I was looking into the heart of darkness as a 6-year-old. And I was really, really intrigued by it, and but scared of it as well. And there's this aspect of this kind of deep part of the deep archaeology of America in the 20th century, which a lot of sort of the stories that you read about or hear about or are told don't touch that stuff. Supermarkets, TV Guide, the National Enquirer, and especially this sort of double-decker story of the father and then the son, both named Generoso Pope Sr. and Jr. was really, I just found super intriguing.
Definitely. Has the film been screened for the extended family, and what have some of those reactions been?
Well, I'd like to say that we can actually find out right now, because in the audience tonight, Gene Pope III and his wife Holly, and
welcome.
Their children are here. Some of their children are here, and we're really delighted. We made the decision early on that we are the Pope family. How can I put it? Is a large and complicated family, and And we made the decision that we were going to focus on the, so to speak, on the professional careers of the father and the son, and not kind of move out into fascinating, interesting family stories. So we didn't talk to family members. We didn't talk to Gene's widow, Lois. We didn't talk to Gene Pope III, but talked to people who were like executive editors, photo editors, Dino Gallo, who'd been at Il Progresso. So it's really a biography of a business. And the father was crucial, because I really feel if you just strip the father's story out, you'd never understand who he was at all. But we sort of decided not to do what if the National Enquirer had done it. Excuse me, David.
That's true.
Might have been done a little bit differently, because there's, like every family, mine included, there's stories, to be told. So, I mean, first of all, David's, company does have some stuff, and we had access to that. We went online, we went into, we got a lot of stuff, and we got hundreds and hundreds of back issues of the newspapers. There would clearly have been a lot more stuff to work with. Sometimes, though, there was certainly enough, and looking at it now, I can see we didn't leave you in the dark about what the Gore period was about. And maybe a little bit on the contrary. So I think that there was clearly enough in terms of being able to see the main product that he made, this sort of world-beating tabloid newspaper, which, by the way, he not only was people offered to buy it, Murdoch and other people, but the offer to go into other media was something that he was offered. But he was really, David, you say, he was a print guy.
He was a print guy, because we really, from when you think of E! Entertainment, Access Hollywood, any type of broadcast entertainment show today, Gene was offered it first, but he wanted to always stay in print. And to your point, it's amazing to me, though, it is, considering that we lost, at that time, when you saw the Anthrax building, all of everything that was what Gene originally started to that day in 2001, destroyed, and we could never take it out again. It was amazing what you captured and found all over that. I never mentioned that to you. I think she was absolutely right.
Well, it was really, for us, the archive was really in the hearts and minds of the people who work with it. I mean, like Dino Gallo, who, alas, won't see the film. He died earlier this year, but Barney Giamvallo and Bill Hall and Ian Calder, all of whom are, and others, Val Cause. And they're, it's not, one thing I loved about doing work on the story was the idea of the National Enquirer doesn't conjure up the idea that the people who are running it are these fascinating people, because it's sort of like, it's such a strong image that's out there that you don't stop to even think, who's behind this? How did it start? Who got the idea for it? What's the Gore period? How did they get rid of that? How did it become what it was? And that I love the kind of, it's a New York, it's an East Coast story. It's like a working story. It's a story of like, how you put together a business and keep it going. And I really love that part of it. And I love the fact that so many of the people, whether they had been through rough times with Gene or not, just really, it was a kind of a professional admiration that was so strong for what he did. And I love how quirky, at that moment when America was becoming nationalized in the post-war period, and in many people's view, homogenized, that this paper associated with supermarkets, the suburbs, television, has this absolutely irreplaceable set of characters with Gene Pope Jr. in the lead in front of it. I find somehow sort of deeply reassuring about just, and also deeply human. But in any case, I want David, thank you again for helping me. It's been a great, great journey for us.
Thank you both.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Dorota.
We're looking forward to your next films. I'm sure there will be more.